Hello, everyone, and welcome to this thematic session about studying a master's degree in medicine at Lund University. I'm going to just wait because we just opened the session and people are still joining. So please be patient and wait for maybe a minute or so we can get more participants joining. Very happy to see you all here today on a Friday afternoon. It's 2 p.m. Central European time, and today we have a 1 hour long session that is dedicated to our master's degree programs in medicine, international, I should perhaps add, English taught programs in biomedicine and public health. So because we just have 1 hour and there are many people joining and many people having a lot of questions that we want to discuss here today with our program representatives, I don't want to delay too much the start of the session. So I think I'm going to start now. My name is Johan Gunnarsson. I work at the Division of External Relations at Lund University. And we are hosting this session and other sessions during our applicant weeks. But today the focus is master's programs in medicine. And we in Lund, at Lund University, we currently have 2 master's degree programs taught in English in the field of medicine. And I would like to ask our representatives to please introduce themselves. First, on my screen, we have Maria Svanberg from the master's program in biomedicine. Maria, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Maria Svanberg. I'm the program director for biomedicine, and my research is in neurogenetics. So I study genetic factors behind neurodegenerative diseases, one of the areas that belong to biomedicine in Lund.
Right. Thank you very much, Maria. And then we have Benedict Opong Asamoah from the Public Health Masters. Welcome, Benedict.
Hi, my name is Benedict Opong Asamoah. I'm an associate professor in global health and a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Medicine. And also I'm the program director for the master's program in public health here at Lund.
Thank you, Benedict. So I would like to tell our participants, our guests here today, that the main point of this session is for you to ask questions directed at our program representatives so that they know what kind of things that prospective students are wondering about, and they can provide information and advice, perhaps. If you are currently in a situation where you're considering an application, or you made an application, perhaps, or you're considering making an application to public health or biomedicine, and there are things that you're wondering about your application and the program and job prospects afterwards, etc. So please use the Zoom Q&A function to write your questions, and we will take or handle your questions orally here in the Zoom webinar. So please go ahead and do so. We don't have any open questions yet. We're waiting for that to come in. So just to start with, Maria, please just give a basic introduction to the master's program in biomedicine. It's a 2-year program, right?
Yes, so it's a 2-year program, and everybody with a bachelor's degree or equal to 180 ECTS in a relevant field, being biomedicine, biology, molecular biology, bioengineering, so on, can apply. And we have 2 tracks within the program. One that results in a thesis, master thesis in drug development, which is conducted in one of the in a company in life science. And we have 1 track resulting in a thesis in research project in academia. Before that, we have the first year starts with kind of general skills, experimental design, scientific communication, and so on. But the second semester, you go in depth into your specific areas of interest, and you can choose between courses in neuroscience, metabolism, stem cells, or whatever your special interest is.
Right, thank you. If we just kind of roll back a little bit, you talked about kind of what types of students are suitable to apply for this program in terms of their academic background. Can you just elaborate a bit more about that? What types of students typically, or what kind of background do students typically have? I mean, we have a bachelor's degree program in biomedicine. Of course, it would be natural to proceed to master's in biomedicine. But what if you have a slightly different degree from your bachelor's level?
That's perfectly fine, as long as it's within the field relevant for biomedicine. So you can find specified at the program's homepage some of these, like molecular biology, for example, is a very common that you see all around the world programs in. But it doesn't really matter what the name of the program is, but the skills and knowledge that you have gained during the program. So if it's not apparent from your transcripts, be sure when you upload your documents that it's very clear to see which subjects that you have studied. You can never be too clear about that.
Thank you very much, Maria. Now, Benedict, if we switch to public health, this is a program that is more open to students from different kind of backgrounds, if I may say so. Isn't that correct? You're muted, Benedict.
Yes, that is correct. So in the master's program in public health, we have a broad approach to health and public health. And then therefore we take in and we focus on students who have diverse kinds of backgrounds and experiences, because that is also in line with how we see upon health and the definition of health. So in that sense, students from all disciplinaries could eventually find a place within our program.
Right. So I don't have to have studied medicine or related to medicine before. But is there any other way that I can show that if I'm a prospective student, that I am suitable to join the program? For example, work experience or anything like that?
Yes. So if the students go to our program website, we have detailed what is required when you make the applications. And in that, we look at three main things, which is we look at the letter of motivation, and we have some questions there that we want students to write about. And with those questions, we look at how clear they are. So we look at clarity, we look at motivation, and then we also look at the approach that students have taken to this. And then, of course, it's about the work experience. So the work experience, we look at the functions that these prospective candidates have taken within the works that they have done. We look at their role in their work, that previous work experience, but then we also look at the length of experience that they have had. And then we look at the academics. So these three components would now constitute to a grade or a point that the student can have. And then based on that point, you could be accepted or not.
Right. So there's just one thing I would like you to clarify. If I am a student and I just finished my bachelor's degree, so I don't have much or any work experience, can I still join?
Yes, you can join. However, you are going to compete with others who have work experience. That means that with your educational merit and then with the letter of motivation, could still compete. But of course, then since it's competitive, it's based on what other students or prospective candidates are also bringing to the application.
All right, thank you for clarifying that, because it's a question that comes up once in a while for this program. We have a question for biomedicine here from Michelle. How many students are aiming to enroll to the biomedicine Master of Science program? How many students do you admit every year, Maria, approximately for the masters?
Approximately 30. It
30
has
students.
Varied a little bit. It has varied a little bit over the years, but around there. And I can just add that similar to what Benedict described for public health, we also have 3 criteria or 3 different assessments. One of them being the academic background, your academic merits, one being the motivation letter, a letter of intent, and the one being a written assignment that you answer and reason around with the relevance for biomedicine. So those 3 together make up your kind of score, and that then the score determines who will enter the program.
Right.
If you fulfill all the other requirements.
Yeah, of course, that's the base. You have to fulfill the actual entry requirements. But there is also a follow-up question here from the same person, which is, if you haven't finished your degree yet, you're in your final year of bachelor's level study, so you haven't gained a lot of experience from outside of academia, perhaps you don't have any work experience, or and this person is asking experimental experience, which I don't know exactly what that means, but maybe lab technique or lab experience. Is that how do we deal with that?
So of course it's very good if you have some experience from being in a lab. Maybe you did something over summer, or an internship, or you visited a lab somehow, then you can write about that in your letter of intent. Otherwise, you need to describe why, more based on your studies, what makes you want to continue in the field of biomedicine.
So more related to your kind of academic experience.
Yes, and we also require that you have done an independent degree project to fulfill the entry requirements. So you can write about that, because then you actually have done a project on your own. Even though it will not be finished at the time when you apply, you can describe it, and then you can upload the certificate when it gets there later on.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Maria. So we have a question here for Benedict. Some of these questions might be a little bit hard for us to answer live, like, am I eligible for this or am I eligible for that? Because the people who sit down and assess applications, it's their decision that matters in the end, but we can kind of give you some information, I hope. Alice is asking, I am now enrolled in a master's degree program in genetics, and I want to do a second master's degree in public health. Do I have to send my master transcript in the application? This person is wondering. It's directed to you, Benedict, I think, because this person wants to apply to public health. Would you like to answer this question?
Yes. So, as you may understand, when it comes to the master's in public health, the basic requirement that we look for is not a master's program. So, but then if you are already studying a master's, then it is okay for you to add that transcript, but it is not something that is required. But then when you also write your letter, then you could explain, why you would want to do a public health master's when you also are undergoing another master's. So for us to understand a bit more about your vision and ambition to transfer this program.
Very important, your vision and ambition. And generally speaking, we always recommend that students send all their merits when they apply, but I don't know if we could say that there are any advantages or disadvantages to having a master before applying to a master, as long as what Benedict said is true, that you are able to convey your vision and ambition with applying to the program. There is a question here. I think it's directed to Maria. I'm not so sure because this person doesn't mention. Hello, I studied medical laboratory sciences and I'm freshly graduated, but I don't have any work experience yet. Can I still join the program? Maria, what do you say about that? I don't know what we can tell. Medical laboratory sciences.
It depends on the exact courses and the program that you've taken. You can see the entry requirements at the webpage, and you also have to have done this independent degree project. So if that is part of your previous studies, should be fine. But it's difficult to say without seeing the transcripts.
Right. So we have a question, another for Maria. Good afternoon. I have one question for biomedicine. Magister, major so far. There is an essay about antibiotic resistance as part of the documents to apply to this major. If we have a tendency other than antibiotic resistance as the motivation to study biomedicine in Lund University, will it affect our probability to be admitted? Can you share anything?
So your motivation could be to work with something else, but you are still to answer this specific question. And this is the assignment or part of the application. And it's a way to see how you reason around problems in biomedicine.
So it's not really so much about antibiotic resistance as it is to see how the student approaches a topic or a problem.
Yeah, so you're asked to describe how to address this problem, more or less.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Benedict, I have a question for you from Katarina. For the Masters in Public Health, what are the institutions where students typically have their internship?
Okay, thank you very much. So students usually have their internship in places that are also linked to the tasks that we have as a university. So it is in research, it is in practice in community, and then it's also in education. So here are some examples. For example, in the last couple of semesters, we've had students who have done internship here at Lund University in the Lund University Diabetes Center. We have had students at the Danish Red Cross. We have students at the Serum Institute in Copenhagen. We have had students at UNICEF in Iceland, WHO in Copenhagen. We've also had students who work in the public health department in Gothenburg and in Region Skåne. And we've had students who've worked at, for example, done internship at NHS in Scotland. And also we've had some UNICEF in North Korea, for example, and also we've had some students who have done internship at the Medical University in Vienna, at the International Center for Migration, IOM, in Health and Development. So there's a lot of internship possibilities and where students also, places that students have interned.
So you, Benedict, here, you most of your examples were kind of in the near, kind of close to Sweden, but it is possible to go almost anywhere, right?
Yes, we have had students who have done internship in, for example, the WHO regional offices in Africa, in Asia. So almost all the continents we have had interns there.
Okay. Can you describe how students look for internships? Do they do it themselves or with the help of the Faculty of Medicine or the program, or how does that work?
So we usually support students, but then students have a role, a responsibility to look for internships. And how we help them is that we provide a list of previous places of interns and internships, then that to give students ideas where they could look for internships. We also guide them in how they can make searches, but then the students also have a responsibility to make contacts in these organizations. There have been times that we have had linkages with some institutions. For example, some years back, we've had linkages with Region Skåne, and then through that, they could make a formal application. And sometimes you also get requests from institutions that want to take up interns. And this we advertise to the students that, okay, there is this opportunity. If you're interested, then you can contact this person. And then through that, students also get internships. And students also get internships sometimes through the teachers that teach in our programs. So they take contact with the researchers or those who practice guest lectures. And through that, students could also get internships.
That's very interesting. So basically, it is very much up to the student to look for internships with some help from the program, but we are not just handing out internships left and right.
No, exactly.
Okay. Maria, is there an internship opportunity for your students, or are there any other opportunities to gain kind of work experience, if you will, within the program?
Yes, so during the second semester, we have elective courses the entire semester, and then you can go and do a project in a lab, for example, for up to 15 credits, and have that as part of your degree. You can also do an internship in a company, that's also 15 credits. And during summers, there's an opportunity to do summer research, and then you also get credits for that you can choose to have in your degree or not. And then you work in a lab for 10 weeks or so.
What types
so
of
there are plenty.
Yeah, what types of industries are you? Because I know, like the Sweden and Copenhagen around the Öresund Strait is quite famous for the pharmaceutical industry, right? Pharmaceutical research. Is that a place where your students often end up?
Yeah, so most of our students go to companies around here in the Lund, Copenhagen area, Malmö. So it could be large companies like Novo Nordisk, for example, or small startups or smaller companies that we have a research park in Medicon Village here in Lund. So many of our students go there as well.
Okay, thank you. Juan Pablo is asking, I'm not sure I understand this question, Benedict. In the program in public health, do you work in Latin American health systems? I'm not so sure about the question. Maybe is it suitable for students from Latin America to take the public health program and then go back to Latin America and work in this region?
Yes, so the program has courses that focus on health systems. And then with this, we take a global approach. So we don't just focus on the Swedish health system, but we focus on different kinds of health systems. And then in that, Latin America is also a part of that. So, and then in the program, we also, as part of our quality plan, we give students the opportunity to be able to steer their education in their areas of interest through the kind of assignments that a student will do within these courses. So for example, a student from Latin America could, within the written assignments, decide to focus on an assignment that is related to the health system in Latin America. And in that sense, you deepen your knowledge more through that and with the support of the teaching staff.
Yeah.
And we have had students from Latin America who have been educated here and gone back to work in Latin America.
Yeah, and I think maybe this is a right moment to kind of point out that public health, the public health master is it's a program that has a fairly long history and has educated hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people from all over the world, right, throughout the years. Benedict, how would you characterize your alumni network?
I would say that we are a global, a program with a very much a global outlook, and we have students and alumni from all over the world. And we recently did an alumni survey to check on where our alumni are, where they are working, and we could see that they are fairly spread out throughout the continent. And I should say that myself, I'm an alumni of the program from several years back. And since that time, I see that every time there is at least 2/3 of there are students who are international. And then for example, this year we had around 23 students from 23 countries. And it's always like that we have a mix of students. And that contributes to the rich classroom that we have, because there's a wealth of experiences from all the different continents and countries and settings that students bring to the program. Mm-hmm. And this also not only goes for the students, but even the teaching staff has also this diverse background and in terms of education, geography, and research experience.
Thank you, Benedict. We have a question here for biomedicine. It's from Michelle again. Can you tell us about the elective courses that are available in the biomedicine master's program, Maria? And where can I find them? Is there a list anywhere?
Yes, there is an outline of the program. If you go into biomedicine master program at Lund University, you will see that there are program sheets, and then you can click for program fact sheet and syllabus and additional information about biomedicine. And there you will find like the outline of the program with the courses. The courses that we offer during the second semester is one course in stem cell biology and regenerative medicine, one in molecular and experimental neurobiology, one in metabolic disease, and one in tumor biology, each of them being 7.5 credits. But during this time, so if you're on the master's program, you're guaranteed to be to be accepted to these courses if you want to take them. But you can also choose to take other courses or go abroad during that time, or do a project. So it's all up to you, actually.
Okay. Can I ask you, Benedict, do you have elective courses in the public health program, or are the courses all mandatory?
We have elective courses, and we have different periods for the elective courses. So typically the students start with a broad approach to global health, and then in the period 3 of the first semester, there is an elective period. We have courses within the program that we offer. So for example, we have a course in sexual reproductive health and rights, and then we also have a course in nutrition. Outside of this, we also have freestanding courses at the Faculty of Medicine that students can still choose. So for example, we have a course like Global Perspectives on Health Systems, which students can choose. And then we also have a new course, for example, now that is a course in inequalities and health and how you measure these inequalities. Then there is also another period that is in the semester 3, where there is also a chance to choose. And here one can choose to do either an internship, 7.5 credit internship, or 15 credit internship. And you can do an internship for the entire period or combine the internship with an elective course. And we also have, for example, cost effectiveness and impact evaluation of public health interventions. And then we have the possibility for students who also want to do an exchange abroad. For example, we have an exchange with the University of Melbourne. So in that, it is possible to do a whole semester and then get credit transfer into the program. And then within this elective period, outside of these courses I've mentioned, it's also possible for students to take courses within the entire university, or even sometimes in another university in Sweden. So there's a quite a broad base where students can select from when it comes to electives.
Thank you. So I think also something that we may or we should mention here in this session is the fact that even though this is Lund University Faculty of Medicine, we actually have more than one campus, Lund University. So the Faculty of Medicine is mainly in Lund, the city of Lund, but also in the neighboring city of Malmö, which is the biggest city in the region, and that is where the public health master is offered. So most biomedicine student would end up in Lund, I suppose, or live in Lund, but many, perhaps most public health students would live in Malmö. Isn't that right, Benedict? That most of your students tend to live in Malmö, even though they can choose to live in Lund, of course, if they want to.
Yes, that is correct. As mentioned, that all the teaching is done in Malmö at CRC, and CRC is the Clinical Research Center here in Malmö. It is a modern clinical research center. And so in the Faculty of Medicine, we are located at the Clinical Research Center in Malmö. Most of our students live in Malmö. There are few who live in Lund. And then depending on how you want to plan your student life, because it's also that in Lund, there are quite a number of student nations and other social activities. So sometimes students choose to live in Lund, but it's very easy transit from Malmö to Lund and Lund to Malmö. So in either ways, we have interacted with the students, and either choices work for them based on their own personal interests.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So I'm curious about the program because I have not studied medicine in the past, so I'm just kind of a layman's perspective. But when I hear biomedicine, I immediately think about laboratory work. Is that correct, Maria? Do your students spend most or a lot of their time in the lab, getting their hands dirty, as it were?
I would say no.
Okay.
So the courses that we offer, some of them have laboratory parts, but most of the work is theoretical. And that's why it's really good, and it's a good opportunity to take the chance to do an internship or a research project during summer, or when you have electives, to actually get your hands into on the lab bench and doing research for real.
So you mentioned the summer project, and we just talked before this session about this because I was intrigued that students in both public health and in biomedicine can get the chance to work in the summer at Lund University. Can you give some examples of what they might do in the summer? Those who are lucky to get a position in the summer. Benedict, what would you say? What kind of examples do we have?
Thank you very much. So that is a fantastic opportunity. I would say that students who get this opportunity to do the summer research projects, there is an opportunity to get a scholarship for this. Not everyone may get that scholarship, but then it is a possibility for the student, and some have gotten that and gotten the opportunity to work with researchers within the university, either in Lund or in Malmö, but within Lund University. And through that, students have gotten the opportunity to continue with their thesis with these same project groups. And some students have even had the opportunity to get a part-time work, if I should put it that way, from this same opportunities. This is not something that is an everyday kind of experience, but these opportunities are also available that students can sometimes grasp when there is such openings.
Yeah, Maria, you also had the same. Your students may join some type of summer position. Can you explain how do you get such a position, and who gets it, and what can you do in the summer?
Yeah. So they are openly announced around this time of year, often with deadline like January, February for the coming summer. And then there are 3 different courses for biomedicine students, and 2 of them are basic level and 1 on advanced level. So for the master students, it's the advanced level course. And as a student on a biomedical master's program, I would say you're highly likely to actually qualify for a stipend. And what you do is you apply for that, and then you even if you don't get the stipend from the faculty, you can still do a project with a lab, and then the lab has to be prepared to pay you the stipend instead. If you get the stipend from the faculty, then the lab pays 50% of the stipend, and the stipend. I shouldn't tell it's approximately what Swedish students have with the student loan and like stipend part that they get from to study. It's on that level.
But so this summer project, it's mostly for students to get the chance to try some practical work based on what they have learned. Do you get any type of credits for it, or is it just the experience?
The summer projects, yeah, the summer projects, yes, you get 15 credits.
Okay.
And you can use it in your degree. You can have a maximum of 15 credits in your master's degree in biomedicine being a project.
Okay.
And that is except for your 45 credit degree project. So, but you can do it without including it in your degree as well. And it's a great way just to be in a lab and see how research is done. And even if you have been before in 1 or 2 or several labs, it works differently in different environments. So maybe you want to try a new technique, or you want to try work in a different research environment. It's a really good opportunity.
Thank you. Benedict, I have a question for you. How many students are admitted to the public health master each year?
Thank you. We usually have a spot between 40 and 42, and so we admit between 40 and 42.
Between 40 and 42, yeah. I think we should say, not to brag, but I mean, public health master is one of the most popular programs in all of Sweden, isn't it? I mean, not just in Lund, it's in fact in all of Sweden. It's one of the most applied to master's programs. So how can students compete? I mean, there is so much competition to join this program. How can they make the fantastic application that would make you notice them?
Yes, so it's, as I mentioned, as you rightly mentioned, this program is very popular and the most applied for master's program in Sweden. That also means that you are competing with a lot of applicants. And that would also mean that it's important to be keen about what we require in the portfolio. There is a portfolio that is clearly illustrated on the program website that you can go and have a look at. And then when you look at that, be sure that all the requirements that are stated, I mentioned about the motivation, I mentioned about the work experience, that you make sure you document this in a way that this can also be assessed. And then, as I mentioned before, when it comes to the letter, the different parts that I've mentioned, your ambition, how your approach to the questions that we ask, you would also have to think through it and not go to the internet, for example, and just copy something general for us. That would put you at a disadvantage. It's important that what you write to us is personal. It reflects your situation, your vision and ambition, and then that would kind of give you a competitive advantage.
Maria and Jorge, you've already talked a bit about this, but how can you maximize your chances? We just assume that the student fulfills the entry requirements now. How are students actually selected? Say you have several hundred eligible applicants. How do you pick and choose between them to create the right kind of class?
Yeah, so we have these three type of criteria. We look at academic merits, and that if you have studied something that is of high relevance to biomedicine, then you score the highest there. And then we have the motivation letter, where you describe your interest and what you have done. How can you show that you are really engaged in this? This is something that you wanna do, and that can be. It's up to your own your interest. Maybe you have been working with something related to biomedicine, or maybe it's another experience, or maybe it's from doing a project or from your undergraduate studies, and then it's this assignment or a small piece that you are to write. So, and it's an assessment of your reasoning around a scientific question. And as Benedict states, it's really important that you make it personal and that we can see that it's your own thinking.
That's very good advice, because sometimes I have spoken to people who do the admission work, and they say they can always tell when a motivation letter is generic, when it's just something that people have sent to 10 or 15 different programs. And it's important that our programs feel that you are applying to them. So you have to really do your homework and understand what the program is about and have a clear motivation, I suppose. But also, Maria, I want to touch, because Benedict kind of said that we know that their alumni network is spread all over the world, every continent, and each year you have students coming from lots of different countries, right, Benedict? Is it the same in biomedicine? Do you have the same kind of spread of?
Not as much as the public health program, I would say, because not all countries have have education that would qualify you for a master program in biomedicine. So that's one thing. But of course, we have had international students for many years at the master's program, and we also have an international bachelor's program in biomedicine. And each year at the bachelor program, we have around 1/3 of the students being international, and on the master's program, between 1/3 and half of the students are not from Sweden. So they do we haven't done a systematic mapping, but maybe we should do that among our alumni. But it's a very international environment, the Biomedical Center in Lund, where the teaching is held. Most of, I would say, the majority of our teachers on the master's program are international researchers that came to Lund from somewhere else. Well, of course, all the teaching is in English, and it's an international environment.
Thank you. I have also here another question about the antibiotic project plan in the application, Maria. What are the important things that you look for here? Is it relevant to include typical sections, subtitles, or should we only write what is asked for, i.e. methods and research questions related to antibiotic resistance, I guess it was?
Yeah, I can't really tell you exactly how to write it, but focus on the question which is stated and reason around that. And you want to show that you know the subject and you know how to learn about maybe some things you need to check for this assignment. You will study about antibiotic resistance, and then you reason around it afterwards.
Okay, I hope that helps, Michelle. We have a question here. It's a fairly easy question. Can you go to public health master after you do a bachelor's in biomedicine? Benedict, can a bachelor's student in biomedicine go to your program?
Yes, that is, they can, and we have had some students from biomedicine who have studied at our program and are still studying within the master's in public health.
Yeah, pretty easy question to handle. Thank you. Here is a question to Maria, I suppose. Cecilia is asking, is it possible to visit the biomedicine campus, the Faculty of Medicine, I suppose, in Lund on December 23?
I would think that it's quite empty on December 23, since we celebrate Christmas on the 24th. Most of the teachers and staff will be already at home at the time. But I mean, the campus is open. You can go the BMC is clearly stated. You can see it on the map. It's right behind the hospital, and it's surrounded by university buildings. It's very close to the university library and so on. It's a nice walk from the university. The building you see behind me, the White House, and then you can walk up through the old departments of surgery and so on, psychology now, and social sciences, and so on, up to the biomedical center. And it's a little bit chaotic there now because we're having a new house built, the Forum Medicum, which will be ready by this fall, and it will be it's built for educational purpose mainly. So it will be a great environment.
Yeah. So Cecilia, I think it's not the most ideal date, I think, to visit Lund University, although you can. But many staff and students will not be there because it's the day before Christmas Eve, which is when we here celebrate Christmas. But I mean, Lund University is open to the public. Many faculties are open, but of course, you need access, I guess, to see the classrooms and labs and facilities and so forth. So, yeah, I would probably recommend that you visit some other day to see more, get the real full experience. Abukar is asking Benedict, hi, I would love to study the Master of Public Health while still working. Is that possible? How flexible is the course? Can I do it online?
Thank you very much. The program is a full-time program and on campus. That means that it's very important to first and foremost have this idea that I am coming to study, there is a full-time requirement. And then outside of that, whether or not one would work depends on your individual situation. And then sometimes students are able to work during the summer. Sometimes they have part-time work. But then you should think about that. The program is full-time. And then it's not it's not so much space to be able to kind of have full-time work and combine it with studies. That one, but to take part-time work depends on your individual situation and then your ability to handle.
Right, and exactly as Benedict said, when you come here, you're a full-time student first and foremost, and then if you may have some extra time to do part-time work, that is possible, might be possible, but you're coming here as a full-time student. And the courses are not flexible. You can't just take them when you want. You have to attend lectures and classes, etc. Isn't that right, Benedict?
Yes, that is correct.
And no online studying. We had courses offered online during the pandemic, right? But students were still kind of expected to be in or close to Lund and Malmö, not on the other side of the world, I mean.
Yes, because there are obligatory sessions, and for those obligatory sessions, students have to be there. Even if it's a session online, we expect students to be there, but most of the sessions are in class.
Face-to-face teaching, yeah. Is it the same biomedicine, Maria? You have to be here, otherwise you can't complete the program.
Yeah, that's true. So we don't have many lectures in our courses. We work according to the flipped classroom strategy. So you do a lot of the studying on your own or with your classmates, and then you come to class prepared. And what we do there is we work according to team-based learning. So you work individually and in groups with taking quizzes and doing assignments to apply your knowledge. So it's a very student active learning, and it's based on interaction, student to student interaction and student teacher interaction. But the one-way communication with like a traditional lecture, we do that as little as we can, I would say, because it's not a very efficient way of learning. Based on pedagogic research, it's so much better if we can spend the time actually discussing things and that you do the reading on your own.
Mm-hmm. Do you also employ the same method of teaching, Benedict, as Maria just mentioned with the flipped classroom, or do you have more traditional kind of lectures and classes?
Thank you. We have very interactive sessions, and as Maria mentioned, in the medical faculty, we have a whole department for pedagogics, and we spend a lot of time with teaching and learning pedagogics. And our teachers also are those who have gone through this pedagogical training and are experiencing different methods. So we use different interactive methods. We have flipped class, we have team-based learning, we have other journal clubs. Depending on which course you are taking, there is a mix of these different methods. And we also have some traditional approaches, but it's mixed.
It's mixed. But so if you come from in your home country or an environment where they just have super traditional teaching, you're going to have to learn a new way to learn, so to speak, or a modern way to learn, maybe even, Maria.
Yeah, yes. But students generally adapt quite rapidly to this. And the students are all helping out since they are working together. One quite a big difference compared to many other countries is that we have an informal relationship between teacher and students. So, for example, when I teach a class, the students call me Maria, not Professor Swanberg, which is quite different from when I've been teaching abroad. And it's perfectly fine to question the teacher and ask or question the content and so on. We like to interact and touch base with the students.
Thank you. We have a person here who's asking a bunch of questions. We're going to pick the most relevant ones. And I think one is particularly relevant, especially for international students who are wondering about this. What do you do after you finish the program, Benedict? How many students get relevant jobs, etc.? Do you have anything to share about this? How many people return to their home country or go to somewhere else or stay in Sweden, etc.?
Thank you very much. So we have our alumni from the program are currently employed in a wide variety of top governing institutions, and such as the ministries of health. And these ministries of health could be different countries and spread around the different continents. And we have those who are employed within the UN organizations, Global Fund, UNICEF, WHO, UNFPA. Then we have those who work at the regional levels and local levels, those who work within local NGOs and international NGOs. And then we have those who work in academia. So when we did a survey this year from February from April up to August. So it's quite recent. And what we saw from the survey was that about a lot of our students, before they came to the program, were not employed within public health. But then after they finished the program, most of them now use the channel of our program to enter into public health profession, which is very, very good. And we also saw that more than half of the students get public health work within 3 months, 3 to 6 months of completion. And then we saw that within a year, most students within the program get public health work. And then when it comes to the continents or the geography, we have students who are employed within, who get to continue with PhD, with their doctoral education within institutions in Sweden. And then we also get those who enter into the academia, but outside of Sweden, in Europe or in other countries. It's the same for those who are working in other public health areas, whether in government or in private. So some students want to go back into their home country and work, and they do return. Some want to stay in Sweden, and then it's up to them. So some continue in academia, some continue in other kinds of work. And some also go to a new country, which is not Sweden or their original country of origin.
Thank you for that explanation. We had a question I sent in the chat. Depending on where you studied previously, there are different rules and instructions for your application, because there was a question here if they have to provide verified documents from their home institution in order to have a complete application. And it depends on where you studied previously, but generally speaking, your official documents, your academic documents, they have to be officially issued by your home university and stamped and or signed in order to get approved by university admissions in Sweden, which is kind of the first step in your application. You're also asking, Deepanjali, about Duolingo. Is the Duolingo English test accepted? No, it's not. So that is a language proficiency test that is not accepted in Sweden for university studies. So if you have to take a test, there are others such as IELTS or TOEFL that are more widely accepted around the world, but not the Duolingo one. We have a question here for Maria. I think it's also a simple question from Cecilia. Is the motivation letter only for the Master of Biomedicine, but is it also for the Bachelor in Biomedicine? Is there a difference there?
For the Bachelor in Biomedicine, you only apply with your academic records. So the selection is based on that, and it's the same if you have your education from high school in Sweden or elsewhere.
So we only require extra documents such as the portfolio for public health or the statement of purpose for biomedicine at master's level, not for a bachelor's level, Cecilia. So you just submit your high school transcripts and proof of your degree certificates if you have such a thing. So here's another question. This is kind of difficult, Benedict, it's for you, but I think it's something that I want to ask both Benedict and Maria about. That is, what are the main benefits of studying your program in Lund University? Why should I study public health in Lund and not in some other university around the world which is offering a similar major? Benedict, what is your take?
Thank you very much. So as I mentioned before, it is not for nothing that our program is the most popular program. And one of the things is because we offer a very broad approach to public health, whilst allowing students the possibility to deepen their knowledge in specific areas of their specialization. So this is an advantage. Another advantage to look at is the global classroom, because as I mentioned earlier, we had a very diverse classroom. That also means that we have students from different backgrounds, cultures, and academics that bring their experiences together, and there is knowledge creation in this process, which most students have also attested to. So if, for example, you go to the website, the program website, you will see examples of stories of alumni and how their experiences with this global classroom. And as I mentioned, that this program also offers you a very good opportunity for your public health career prospectively. And that we can also see from the survey that we made. That I wouldn't say that all these I've mentioned that it's available for every program. At the same time, we also have a very experienced professors and teachers who are engaged in research, and therefore they also bring their research into the education. So it's not just a matter of education, but we combine education with a societal experience and also research. So you'll find this all intertwined when you come to the public health program at Lund University.
Thank you, Benedict. Maria, if I extend the question to you, what are the kind of main advantages and benefits of studying biomedicine at a place like Lund University?
Okay, so first of all, why study biomedicine? Well, that's what you want to study biomedicine if you're curious. You want to know why. You don't just want to know how things work, but why do they work this way? Why does a disease develop, or why viruses work the way they do, or other questions? And why study the biomedicine program in Lund? I think, well, of course we have the excellent students and teachers, but we also have a very modern way of teaching and learning, which is also what is scientifically proven also to be the best way for deep learning and for you to actually learn for life and benefit from this. We are also close to research. All the teachers are also active researchers. We're close to the infrastructure that is being built, like the Max4 laboratory and ESS that will come up. And why be in Lund? Well, Lund is it's a pretty town. It's a medieval town. It has a very vivid student life. I think like 1/3 or 1/4 of the inhabitants are students. Is that correct, Johan?
Well, I mean, we have more than 46,000 students, I believe, and the city itself has 125,000 people, I believe. So it's a lot of students.
So if you want to experience student life in Sweden, I think Lund is a very, very good place to start.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. Thank you very much, Maria, for your explanation, and also you, Benedict. We actually just have maybe a bit more than 1 minute to go before the session ends. I want to remind all the participants who are still with us that there is a session today starting at 4 o'clock with students from biomedicine and also public health. So current students from biomedicine and public health will be available in a session like this to talk about their experience as students at Lund University, life in Lund as an international student, etc., and take your questions. So if you want to join that session, please do, because it could be interesting to get the student perspective as well. Now you've spoken with the staff members of Lund University who have given their information and advice about their respective programs. I would like to thank Maria and Benedict for taking the time of your busy schedules to share your inside information and knowledge about the programs in biomedicine and public health. So thank you very much. And thank you participants for joining us today. I hope you learned something new. And good luck with your applications if you have applied to these programs. So yeah, thank you everyone. This is the end. It's 3 o'clock. Have a nice weekend, everyone. Tack Maria, tack Benedikt. See ya.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.